Hello, I'm Antonio Mora. This is the newsandnews.com Day in Brief on Tuesday, February 26th at about 6:30 p.m. In late-breaking news, Joe Biden revealed that his family is on board for him to run for president in 2020 and that he's very close to making a decision. He said he's even talked to his grandchildren and noted that the most important people in my family want me to run. It is breakfast time in Hanoi, but President Trump and Kim Jong-un are not scheduled to meet until 6:30 p.m. in Vietnam's capital, which is 12 hours ahead of the East Coast. Trump will spend the day meeting with Vietnamese officials. He and Kim are then slated to meet one-on-one for 20 minutes, followed by what the White House describes as a social dinner. A more formal round of negotiations will follow on Thursday. Trump has downplayed expectations for the quick North Korean denuclearization he claimed would happen after last year's summit with Kim in Singapore. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, who also happens to be visiting Vietnam this week, claims the U.S. asked for help in dealing with the Hermit Kingdom. Lavrov says he believes the U.S. should offer security guarantees for nuclear disarmament to succeed. U.S. officials have indicated that reaching an agreed definition of denuclearization is a priority. You'd think they would have done that by now. Michael Cohen has spent the whole day testifying behind closed doors in a classified Senate Intelligence Committee hearing. Members are reportedly grilling Trump's former fixer. The chair of the committee, Senator Mark Warner, left the meeting and made an ominous statement about how this could be the most important thing he's done in the Senate. Senator Susan Collins described Cohen as a very different man than the one who lied to Congress a year ago. He's reportedly ready to accuse President Trump of criminal conduct while in office in connection with the hush money payment to Stormy Daniels. In public testimony before the House Oversight Committee tomorrow, he is also expected to say he witnessed, quote, lies, racism, and cheating in his years working for Trump. In a statement, White House spokeswoman Sarah Sanders said it is, quote, laughable that anyone would take a convicted liar like Cohen at his word and pathetic to see him given yet another opportunity to spread his lies. Also, in what's seemingly a blatant attempt at intimidating Cohen, Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz seemed to threaten Cohen, asking in a tweet whether Cohen's wife knows about his girlfriends. He continued by taunting him, writing, quote, I wonder if she'll remain faithful to you while you're in prison. She's about to learn a lot. The House is still expected to vote today on a resolution to block Trump's declaration of an emergency along the Mexico border. The measure will pass, with the only question being how many Republicans join Democrats. Many in the GOP opposed the declaration before it was issued. The Senate is increasingly likely to approve the House measure because a few Republicans have already said they'd support it. Trump has already threatened a veto. Many Republicans rightfully opposed President Obama's overreach in using executive powers. Many seem to have forgotten their objections. As GOP Congressman Justin Amash said this weekend, quote, if your faithfulness to the Constitution depends on which party controls the White House, then you are not faithful to it. Of course, Democrats who had no issue with Obama's executive actions now hypocritically object to Trump's. In a pre-dawn airstrike, Indian planes crossed into Pakistan, reportedly bombing what India referred to as a terrorist training camp. The Indian government claims a very large number of militants were killed, while Pakistan says there were no casualties or damage. However, Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan warned his country that they should be ready for all eventualities. The tensions among the two nuclear powers follow an attack in disputed Indian-ruled Kashmir on February 14th that killed more than 40 Indian soldiers. Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein seems to be dampening the hopes of what the public might see from Special Counsel Mueller's report on Russian meddling in the 2016 election. Rosenstein said, quote, if we aren't prepared to prove our case beyond a reasonable doubt in court, then we have no business making allegations against American citizens. He also argued that there are, quote, lots of reasons not to be transparent about what we do, referring to Justice Department investigations. House Intelligence Committee Chair Adam Schiff fired back against what he called DOJ double standards. The House Judiciary Committee reportedly believes it has evidence that Trump did ask his then acting Attorney General, Matt Whitaker, whether he could put an ally in charge of the Cohen investigation. While there's no indication Whitaker did anything after that request, he testified on Capitol Hill that the White House had not made any requests related to any investigation. Venezuelan dictator Nicolás Maduro ordered the detention of Jorge Ramos, the most high-profile Spanish-language journalist in the United States, after Ramos showed him video of Venezuelans forced to eat rubbish. After an immediate international outcry, Ramos was released and deported. He and his crew arrived in the U.S. without their camera equipment or tapes of their interview after Maduro's agents seized it all. The UN Security Council is expected to meet this week on the Venezuelan crisis, but it's likely the Russians and Chinese will prevent any serious moves against Maduro. The dictator, although Bernie Sanders disputed calling Maduro that, claims that the U.S. is fabricating a crisis to start a war. If millions of refugees fleeing a country, people starving, and others dying for lack of basic medicines isn't a crisis, then we don't know what is. More of Theresa May's cabinet members are threatening to resign unless she rules out a no-deal Brexit. Trying to avoid that, May reportedly promised Parliament the chance to reject no deal and, for the first time, offer the possibility of the Brexit deadline being extended. She's also planning on submitting a revised plan for a vote on March 12th. How would you like to get stuck on a stranded train for 2 days? That's what happened to nearly 200 passengers in Oregon. The train came to a standstill after hitting a tree that had fallen on snow-covered tracks. A storm knocked out power to the nearest town, so Amtrak decided to keep the passengers on the train. But snow kept falling, making an immediate rescue impossible. The train was finally towed back to Eugene earlier today. We have all those stories and much more updated around the clock 7 days a week on newsandnews.com, where you will find all you need to know in one place. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on the right of your screen just below this video. Please follow us on Facebook at Real News and News, and follow me on Twitter at AMoraTV. I'll see you again tomorrow.